Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I'm the hands behind Lovecraft Crochet. My plushies are for the anxious, depressed, autistic, and neurodivergent. Small enough to travel in a purse, backpack, diaper bag, or even your pocket. You can check out my Facebook page or TikTok to see what patterns are available and stay tuned for the new ones coming out. I also make hats, scarves, blankets, and dice bags for the tabletop gamer or dice goblin in your life. Feel free to order through the page, TikTok DMs, or via email at love.craft.crochet@gmail.com. Now, on to the segment.
Due to the graphic and disturbing nature of the crimes discussed, listener discretion is advised.
Killing 15.
Hello and well met, killers. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm trying something new.
It failed.
Okay.
Just to let everyone know, we are no longer going with notebooks. Oh, you actually have that written in.
Yes.
Okay. Sam, I am not calling our fans killers. Oh, hey. Good idea. Anyways, we are officially digital now. No more notebooks. No more, what does this say and what is this word? However, maybe Sissy will finish her thoughts now. So, Sam is still looking for her favorite or interesting crimes on Forensic Files. If you want more of what Sam says happened based on Forensic Files, let us know. She may have a few more down the pipeline. Who knows? We do know that we also will cover cases that were on Forensic Files, not because they were on Forensic Files.
No. Just like the Judge Bomber dude. I didn't know he was on Forensic Files till I finished the research.
I was about to say, we've already done 150 of these episodes. I'm fairly certain the show that ran for like 20 years has a lot more crossover than we realize.
326 episodes.
So that's our benchmark?
That's our benchmark.
As soon as we hit 309 what did you say it was?
326.
Okay, so we hit 327, we're done, we retire.
Okay. At least killing 15.
So anyways, Mark William Hoffman was born on December 7th, 1954 in Salt Lake City, Utah. He was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the LDS from now on. He was a poor student, not exactly the worst, but nowhere near the top, at Olympus High School, which I believe would mean that they were Greco. However, he was involved in many clubs and hobbies. He did stage magic, electronics, chemistry, and stamp and coin collecting. Well, there's a sign of a sociopath.
The coin collecting or the stage magic?
The stamp collecting.
No, yeah, stamp way more than coins.
Supposedly, Hoffman and his friends would make bombs, setting them off on the outskirts of Murray, Utah. Based on testimony, as a teenage coin collector, he forged a rare mint mark. That's how the press hits the coin on a dime. He was told by an organization of coin collectors that it was real and genuine. As many teens and young adults do, he went on a LDS mission for 2 years. He was sent to Bristol, England. He told his parents about the number of baptisms he had done. He did not tell his parents about him reading No Man Knows, My History by Fawn M. Brody, yes, about Joseph Smith. No Man Knows, I'm assuming, is about how Joseph Smith was kind of a shiesty SOB before starting a shiesty church. That being said,
I'm not going to religious shame.
I'm not going to religious shame because I do.
When your religion is founded on a guy who was lost in the Catskills and he ate magic mushrooms, and an angel came down from the heavens, yeah. But I'm just saying there was some drugs involved for that.
At 14, he said he lost his faith in LDS and stopped believing in a higher power as an atheist. He had learned that his maternal grandparents had continued to secretly practice polygamy for more than a decade after the church publicly ended the practice. It was not fully renounced until 1904. See, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, so it was. I found some interesting things with this dude.
An ex-girlfriend would say, "I believe that he had only went on mission to please his parents and the pressure from the church." He enrolled pre-med at Utah State University. In 1979, he married Dora Lee, or Dory, Olds. They had 4 children together. She would divorce him in 1987. She would go on to co-found a holistic medicine company. In 1980, he found, in a 17th century King James Bible, a gummed-up folded piece of paper. The document appeared to have been a transcript from the Smith scribe Martin Harris, period, is what you wanted there, which had been submitted to Charles Anthon, a Columbia Classics professor, in 1828. According to the Mormon scripture, Joseph Smith, history, the transcript and its unusual reformed Egyptian characters were copied by Smith from the golden plates from which he transcribed the Book of Mormon from. It was the beginning of a respectable reputation as a collector for Hoffman. Dean Jesse, a well-versed in early Mormon manuscripts and historical documents at the Historical Department of the LDS Church, concluded that the document was a Smith hologram. The LDS announced the discovery of the Anthem transcript in April, which was then purchased for over $20,000. We need to start forging stuff.
I know, right?
The LDS Church appraised it for $25,000. So on October 13th, in exchange for duplicates of several artifacts, including a $5 gold Mormon coin, some Deseret banknotes, and a first edition of the Book of Mormon, prominent academic Hugh Nibley,
I know, I would giggle at that one.
based on the presumption that it was genuine, predicted that the discovery promised as good a test as we'll ever get on the authenticity of the Book of Mormon, because he thought the paper might be translatable. Zoology professor Barry Fell soon stated he had decoded the document.
I want you to remember that the first cipher of the Zodiac was finished by a former high school English teacher.
Yes, but an English teacher makes more sense than zoology.
You're gonna the dude.
I know that it looks like a crane. I saw the mummy. A manifest.
By the way,
Anyway,
that's the only Egyptian word I know off the top of my head. But first, I have to do the crane move.
Hoffman dropped out of school to become an antique book dealer, dealing in rare books. Why, yes, that would be an antique book dealer. Soon he was discovering, using air quotes here, more significant historical documents. He became respectfully known in the LDS historical community for his air quote discoveries of documents previously unknown pertaining to the Latter-day Saints movement. These are really all forgeries, aren't they? Not just the Anthem thing?
They actually don't know how many forgeries he made.
Huh.
They've tested so far for only 10 to 20 documents.
These documents not only deceived the people of the first presidency, including Gordon B. Hinckley. Hinckley was de facto president due to illness of the more senior leaders. Hoffman also tricked distinguished historians and experts. According to Richard and Joan Ostling, Hoffman was by the time a closet apostate, motivated not only by greed, but also by desire to embarrass the church by undermining church history. Early 1980s saw a significant number of documents, air quote, discovered, being placed on the market. Sometimes the church received them as donations, and other times they were purchased. According to Ostling's, the church publicized some of the acquisitions. It orchestrated public relations for some that were known to be sensitive, others it acquired secretly and then suppressed. In 1981, Hoffman presented the LDS Church with a document which supposedly provided evidence that John Smith designated his son, John Smith III, rather than his successor, Brigham Young, as successor. Just to finish that thought. In a cover letter purportedly written by Thomas Bullock, dated January 27, 1865, Bullock chastised Young for having all copies of the blessing destroyed. Bullock writes that although he believed Young to be a legitimate leader of the LDS Church, he would keep his copy of the blessing. If true, it would portray Young, and by extension the Church, in an unfavorable light. When trying to sell the document on February 1981, the LDS chief archivist balked at the price. Hoffman had hoped the Church would buy the cover letter to, air quote, bury the document. So he then offered it to the reorganized Church of Latter-day Saints, now the Community of Christ, which always claimed that the line of succession had belonged to Smith's descendants, but never had any proof. They scrambled to come up with the funds, and posing as a devoted Mormon, Hoffman asked for pricier items that were worth more than $20,000. However, he made the document public. The next day, the New York Times headline read, "Mormon document raised LDS Church." No, I skipped the line. Mormon document raised doubts on succession of Church's leaders, forcing the LDS Church to confirm the discovery and publicly handing over the document to the Reformed Latter-day Saints Church. Reformed? Reclaimed? I just said it and I forgot. Reorganized!
They're something, but they are the LDS. Or LDS.
However, he made the dog. There was a race between the Utah and Missouri churches to get the blessing document. Hoffman discovered that he could leverage all this to exercise enormous power over the church, a power to menace and manipulate its leaders with nothing more sinister than a sheet of paper. Salt Lake County District Attorney's investigator Michael George believed that after Hoffman had successfully forged the blessing, his ultimate goal was to create the lost 116 pages of the Book of Mormon, which he could have filled with inconsistencies and errors, sell them to the church to be hidden away, and then, as he had done with other embarrassing documents, make sure its contents were made public. Of Hoffman's discoveries, the most famous of his Mormon documents was the Salamander Letter. It appeared in 1984. The letter was supposedly written by Marvin Harris to W. W. Phelps. According to the letter, a version of the recovery of the gold plates that contrasted markedly different with the church-sanctioned version of events. Not only did the letter interpolate that Smith was money-digging through magical practices, and that the angel Smith said appeared before him was just a white salamander.
Again, he was lost in the Catskills having mushrooms. I don't know what the fuck he saw.
Well, he could have seen a lot of things. However, this was a forged document stating what he saw.
I know.
So what did the church do? They purchased it, and it became public knowledge. LDS Church Apostle Dallin H. Oakes asserted to Mormon educators that the words white salamander could be reconciled with Smith's angel Moroni, because in 1820s the word salamander might also refer to a mythical being thought to be able to live in fire, and a being that is able to live in fire is a good approximation of the description Joseph Smith gave of the angel Moroni. Whew.
It's a history lesson.
Also in 1984, the longtime critics of Mormonism, Gerald and Sandra Tanner, were the first to say that the Salamander Letter was a fake. Really?
Yes.
That's cool. As well as all the other documents, despite the fact that it would strengthen the Tanners' arguments against the veracity of official Mormon history. That's actually why I said, oh, that's neat. Mm-hmm. But then again, I doubt you'll get into it, but it's one of those things where, because you are so against it, you know what you're looking at.
Right.
It's sort of like how I really don't trust the government.
Right.
So I know that the Majestic 12 letter is a lie. Majestic 12 is the name of the air quote UFO group.
Oh yeah, okay. UFO, man, my brain just clicked to what it was.
But it was a fake letter that was air quote leaked in UFO circles about how, I want to say it was Truman, had this group of 12 people that were controlling all the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
However, it used phrases like top secret, which didn't come out until like 20 years later. It had all these other inconsistencies.
Right.
But because a lot of people want to believe.
Yes.
However, again, because I know what a government document looks like, as much as I would like to be like, yes, UFOs exist, this is a bullshit document. You know what I mean?
Very much so, yes.
But I'm assuming, I doubt you go into that, like I said. Okay. Document expert Kenneth W. Rendelator. If I get any of these names wrong, please note that Sam can't fucking type. Said that while there was the absence of any indication of forgery in the letter itself, there was also no evidence that it was genuine. No one is sure how many of the discoveries were works of fiction from Hoffman in the early 80s. The ones they know for sure were forgeries are the letters from Smith's mother, Lucy Mack Smith, describing the origin of the Book of Mormon, letters from Martin Harris and David Whitmer, two of the three witnesses, each giving a personal account of their version, a contract between Smith and Egbert Brandt Grandin for the printing of the first edition of the Book of Mormon, and 2 pages of the original Book of Mormon manuscript taken in dictation from Smith to Oliver Cowderley. Hoffman bypassed the LDS Church's historical department and sold to Hinckley an 1825 Smith holograph purported to confirm that Smith had been treasure hunting and practicing magic 5 years after his first vision. Hoffman had the signature authenticated by Charles Hamilton, the contemporary, air quote, Dean of American Autograph Dealers, and he sold the letter to the church for $15,000 and gave his word that no one else had a copy. Hoffman himself leaked the existence of it, forcing the church to release the document to be studied by scholars, especially since they had denied the existence of it. How many times did this guy burn people? Like, quite literally, there's so many times where it's like, I won't leak this one. Okay, here's the money. Everybody, they have this.
I know.
In addition to documents from Mormon history, Hoffman also forged and sold signatures of many famous non-Mormons, including George Washington, John Adams. Did you list every fucking person he had sold autographs for? We are a 15-minute show, Sam. At this stage, he should be blowing people up. I don't give a fuck that he was selling... Oh, wow, Daniel Boone autographs. What the hell? Who the hell's Button Gwinnett?
I don't know. I didn't look him up. It just seems like an interesting name.
Anyone listening? I would like to know who the fuck Button Gwinnett is. Hoffman also forged Emily Dickinson's unpublished poem.
Yes.
Was it real?
Well, it just said he forged it.
But did he get her signature? It's not on the list you gave me of people like John Milton, Paul Revere, Miles Standish. I feel like I should actually know that name.
That one actually sounds familiar.
It sounds like I feel like I should know that one. Anyways, Hoffman's greatest scheme was to forge the Oath of a Free Man, an American colonial history. Maybe one of the most famous missing documents from that time period. The single-page oath was printed in 1639 and was the first document printed in Britain's American colonies. Only 50 prints were made and none of them have survived, that we know of. A genuine example was probably worth over $1 million in 1985, and Hoffman's agents began to negotiate a sale to the Library of Congress. Hoffman made great, and I mean great, money. Hoffman made great money with this thing? That's what you want to say? That's how you want to phrase that?
Dude,
he made a lot of money.
He made great money.
But why'd you... And he had bigger debts with his lavish lifestyle and purchasing genuine first editions. To clear his debt, he attempted to broker a sale for the McLellan collection, a supposedly extensive group of documents written by William E. McLellan, an early Mormon apostle who eventually broke with the LDS Church. He hinted that the McLellan got... Seriously, is he going to start blowing people up anytime soon?
Yes, this is...
Okay, well, I'm skipping through. Did he fleece this guy? Yes. Was they real? No. Hoffman had no idea what the McLellan collection was. Okay, I'm going to keep it with it. He needed to buy time. Now, how do you buy time if you are doing crimes? If you guessed that he built a bomb, there we go. Okay, now he's bombing people. I'm happy. I just skipped 3 fucking paragraphs. He built a bomb. Well done. Whoever says, man, I need to buy time, let's build a bomb? If you answered, oh, he should build a bomb, When Sam asked the rhetorical, I asked the rhetorical via Sam, hey, what should you do if you need to buy time and you're doing crimes? Let's build a bomb. You need to talk to somebody. Let Sam know on Good Pod, Spotify, Facebook. That's where we're sticking that.
Yep, that's where I'm sticking it.
On Carry On Productions, or you can email her at carryonprod@gmail.com. Anyways, to serious this up, on October 15th, 1985, his first bomb killed document collector Stephen Christensen and injured his secretary in the leg via shrapnel. Later the same day, a second bomb would kill Kathy Sheets, the wife of Christensen's former employer. As Hofmann had intended, police initially suspected that the bombings were related to the impending collapse of an investment building of which Sheets' husband, J. Gary Sheets, was principal, and Christensen his protege. Oh, you're going to love this. Oh, am I? Am I going to love this? The next day, Hofmann blew his dumbass up. Dumbass, sorry. The next day, Hofmann blew himself up. Yep. The smart businessman and bomber blew himself up and blew up his Toyota MR2. What the hell's an MR2?
It was kind of a sedan back in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Fair. I'm sorry. I'm not a Toyota guy.
I'm not a Toyota person either. I had to look it up.
After this incident, he quickly gained more suspicion and became a suspect. You think?
You think?
Though no one knew this, and some of his business associates went into hiding, fearing that they might also be victims. During the bombing investigation, police discovered evidence of the forgeries in Hofmann's basement. They also found the engraving plate where the forged plate for the Oath of a Free Man was being made. Document examiner George Throckmorton analyzed several Hofmann documents that had previously been deemed authentic and determined that that was a lie. 3 letters purportedly written from an Illinois prison by Smith used different ink, paper, and writing instruments. Because the letters had been authenticized by different experts, the inconsistencies had early escaped detection. Throckmorton also discovered that some of the documents, supposedly written by different people, had similar writing styles, and that they had been written with homemade iron gall ink that looked cracked like alligator skin under a microscope, although authentic period ink did not. Investigators also found that a poem used to authenticate the handwriting in the salamander letter had been forged by Hofmann and inserted into a book of common prayer once owned by Martin Harris. You gotta admit, at least he had a
nice scam going.
He did. Hofmann was arrested on January 1986 and charged on 4 indictments totaling 27 counts, including first-degree murder, delivering a bomb, constructing or possessing a bomb, theft by deception, and communications fraud. A 5th indictment containing an additional 5 counts of theft by deception was added later in January. Hofmann maintained his innocence, though, as they often do. At the preliminary hearing, prosecutors provided voluminous. They provided a lot of evidence of his forgeries and debts. Maybe I'm going to have you go back to fucking notebooks. Second, you get a thesaurus that you can just click. I don't want large, I want great money. Voluminous. Just say a lot.
Okay.
Chief Investigator Jim Bell said, "They're hiding something. The church is doing everything it can to make this as difficult as possible. I've never seen anything like it in a homicide investigation." Hofmann not only faced the prospect of the death penalty in Utah,
My God, where'd your southern accent just come out there?
but was indicted on federal charges of possession of an unregistered Uzi machine pistol. Buried that fucking lead, didn't ya? New York prosecutors had sought the indictment for the fraudulent sale of the Oath of a Free Man. In January 1987, Hofmann pled guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder, 1 count of theft by deception for forging the salamander letter, and 1 count of fraud for the bogus sale of the McClellan collection. The fact that Hofmann got off with a plea bargain instead of going to trial, where he would have likely had to face the death penalty if found guilty, was quite puzzling to a reporter for the Los Angeles Times, who wrote, "In any other state, you'd see this thing go on trial, because that's how prosecutors' reputations are made. Going to trial and getting bad guys, big splashes, lots of exposure. Here, you have a nice little plea bargain. I mean, that's fair.
Well, I believe it was on the closer, where Brenda Lee comes in just after what's her name left, or whatever. Anyways, Brenda Lee showed up, and that's how we got the closer. And it was no, it wasn't Brenda Lee. It was the brunette. But anyways, it was when Brenda Lee left. Anyways, she made a point about with the plea deal, you are getting somebody in jail to pay for their crimes. It is almost a slam dunk that they will never be able to appeal it. There is no appeals on most plea deals.
Right.
So they, if you didn't take the plea deal, you're going to end up dead.
Right.
So that's why I also like the death penalty.
Well, that's sort of where I think I like the death penalty insofar as that so many cases do get plea deals. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That it almost becomes a don't be stupid scenario.
Right. If you have the death penalty, you could say, okay, we're going to go for the death penalty, or plead the second degree murder.
Yeah, it's the, here is the worst that could happen. Now let's peel back. Now I'm not death penaltied, I'm life imprisoned.
I can live with that.
You know what I mean? Shit like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, as part of his plea deal, he would admit to his guilt of the forgeries as long as Utah and New York dropped the additional charges against him. He was sentenced to 5 years to life, but the judge recommended that Hofmann never be released. Utah has an undetermined sentencing scheme. Prison sentences have a minimum and a maximum time frame. Offenders must serve their entire sentence unless the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole opts to grant them parole sooner. The 5 years to life sentence was the minimum possible under Utah sentencing guideline at the time. Changes to sentencing guideline have since increased the minimum for murder to 15 to life. I will never understand the murder equals, anything less than 20 years.
I don't understand it.
Murder, and I'm talking strictly murder, not manslaughter, not not accidental death or leading to accidental death of a person.
No.
But I'm talking, if you're able to turn around and go, that was fucking murder, bro.
Yep.
Then it should carry much heavier sentences. In 1988, Hofmann told the Board of Parole that he had thought planting the bomb that killed Kathy Sheets was almost a game. At the time I made the bomb, my thoughts were that it didn't matter if it was Mrs. Sheets, a child, a dog, or whatever. Within the hour, the board, citing Hoffman's callous disregard for human life, decided that he would indeed spend the remainder of his natural life in prison. Hofmann also told investigator Michael George that he was bewildered by the attention paid to his murder victims. I don't feel anything for them. My philosophy is that they're dead. They're not suffering. I think life is basically worthless. They could have died just as easily in a car accident. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in an afterlife. They don't know they're dead. After Hofmann was imprisoned, he was excommunicated by the LDS Church and his wife filed for divorce. That was 2 years after his conviction. Hofmann attempted suicide in his cell by taking an overdose of antidepressants. He was revived, but not before spending 12 hours lying on his right arm and blocking its circulation, thus causing muscular atrophy. His forging hand was thereby permanently disabled. As of 2016, he resides at Central Utah Correction Facility in Gunnison, Utah, I assume.
I assume so, also.
And that is the end of that chapter.
I apologize. I put too much in. Without having the paper in front of me to judge. I apologize.
Hold on. Apologize to the people who just had to hear a 20-minute thing on a dude who's planted one bomb, killed
3 bombs. 1 killed.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. He did plant 3 bombs. 2 in the one day, and then he blew himself up. But anyways, no, actually, I find it quite interesting. Yes, you did add a little bit of extra, and it's something that I had to do for changing debunking over to mything.
Right.
Is that I do want to do the research that I used to do and plug in everything because it is so much easier to do on a Word document than when you're taking notes. But either way, this is a very interesting case. I actually really love... I love forging. That's not how I want to say that.
No, but I understand what you mean.
I've always enjoyed... I am a historical documents nut. I actually... My personal fetish is maps. Especially older maps.
Yep.
Before you had, proper satellites.
Right.
Before you could literally look at the coastline of something.
And then you had to map that coastline.
Exactly. It's like, hey, why was there a Great Lake in the middle of Canada? Well, there technically wasn't, but because people are using pen and fucking paper. Mm-hmm. Although that's something I want to talk about on Mything one of these days. So I'm not going to talk about it here.
One of the things I would like to bring up in Mything is why in the maps in the 1300s have a great outline of Antarctica.
They don't.
Well,
hold on. No, we're going to get into this. This is a Mything episode we're about to talk about because guess what? It wasn't. It was Terra Australis, and that was only in there because, to quote all the fucking cartographers at the time, there needs to be a continent here to balance out the world. Okay? Now, if you're talking about the Fermi-Rees map or whatever the fuck it's called, the one that totally shows an iceless Antarctica, that's fucking Tierra del Fuego!
Anyways. No.
Unless you want to state that the land with all the snakes...
Anyways.
Does that sound like South America to you, or does that sound like Antarctica to you?
Anyways.
No, Sam, I want you to answer. The place with all the snakes. Australia? Not Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
That actually does sound like Australia. Does it sound like, a Central or South American place? Or does it the place that's been covered in ice for 15 million years? Sissy?
I think
Do you think there's ice snakes, Sam? Don't wait for the translation. Answer me now.
I don't know, man. I don't know. He scared me, people.
If anyone got the reference I just made, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. I will let you pick the next killing or mything episode if you know the answer. First one's in's a rotten egg. I don't know. Anyways, do you have anything else to say? Are we not gonna moo like the end of fucking Harvey Milk's episode?
Oh, I was so nuts.
I'm AJ Carey.
I'm Sam Rossi. Later, y'all.
Keep on carrying on.
C-A-R-E-Y. Because
Carry On Productions.